Okay, this isn't perfect. I got a couple new accessories. I'm still going through a transition. If you're watching this video for the first time, I'm going to try to get you up to speed with the here and now. But I also, if you watch my videos, I do a lot of flashbacks, and when I make this clear to set this up, I say this is the here and now. Technically, it is officially my here and now, which isn't going to be your here and now, is May 23rd, about 8:50, just shy of 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm in a place, if you live in Denver, you're one of my riders, 2400, that is living in Denver, you'll know exactly where I am, Wash Park. This is where I'm parked with my new electric Kia. I just made a big transition from my 2017 Prius Touring, where I picked up 2,400 people in the last 2 years, and this is my first week in my electric car parked in Wash Park on a beautiful morning, Thursday, May 23rd. This is my friend Jeremy. We're going on my first cruise in my electric bike, my electric car, electric bike.
How's it going?
We just hung out with his chickens. It's kind of funny. What are their names?
This one's Peach and this one's Yoshi.
And they're only 2 weeks old.
Yeah.
And they came from the same, I don't want to say mother, but they came out of eggs?
Yeah, that have been artificially inseminated.
Oh,
This
really?
one's a green Wyandotte and it's going to poop any moment. And this one's a golden egger.
You mean, there's not a mother chicken?
No, it's all robots.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
These ones are sexed. These ones are 80-20s. So it's 80% females and 20% males. So your odds are pretty good.
What do you do? What do you have to
50-50s.
go to a facility or something?
There's a few of the local hardware stores in town sell baby chicks in the spring, and I figured this out and I started buying them. This is batch number 6.
Batch number 6. That's funny. So you buy the chicks?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, when they're very little, and you have to put probiotics in the water and feed them special food.
Wow. And then they start laying their own eggs?
About September, October. This is a late batch.
Wow.
There'll be tiny little eggs in the chicken coop.
And
They say you're not supposed to eat the first couple, but I mean, we've done it in the past and it was just fine.
And these little chicks don't know what's going on.
They're pretty gosh darn cute, though.
Yeah. It's nice to have some new videos of you.
Nice.
If you're in Japan or Brazil or England, or you've never been to Denver, or even if you're a visitor that's come here for a convention, you're at a hotel and just go to the convention, you don't have any extra time, you don't have time to go to Wash Park or City Park, you know, you won't know where this is.
Back.
Hello. Hello. He's like, oh my God, I get to talk to someone. There's a lot of dogs in downtown Denver. It seems like everybody has dogs.
Yeah. Zandy zoo. Zandy zoo. Zandy zoo.
Did it ever run out in the backyard?
Oh yeah, he spends the majority of his time in the backyard. Pooping, chasing rabbits, barking.
So why am I recording this video today? And what do I have to say to you if you happen to be the one viewer that watches this? Now, that's that one hotel straight across from us. Yeah. Yeah, the Westin there.
These trails all go to there.
I've picked people up at the Westin and brought them to the Westin. Wow. It's really cool. It's a little bit of nature, and there's just a residential area right there.
Yeah.
I bet those houses are worth a lot just because they're close to this
Yeah,
park.
they got the view. If you got the view, you can win the price.
Wow. I like this kind of stuff. It makes me feel like I'm in nature and we're still in the city. What I'm about to tell you, it may not mean anything to you, to be honest with you. What I'm about to tell you, you may be the 90% of the population that doesn't really care. I'm not putting it down, I'm just saying that's what I'm learning through this experience. Hey, this is Doug. I still have my night shirt, night jacket, walking home from Starbucks here in Denver, Colorado. I'm going to interrupt myself to bring, if you happen to be a viewer here, and frankly, I think most of the time I'm making these videos for my own, journal, or looking back or flashing back or just looking at the present in my life. So I want to talk about why I'm sharing this particular video. This is an actual interview with Madeline that was very spontaneous. Hi everyone, I actually have a camera on a very special person I've been talking about on my videos a lot. She's actually the dry van, your official title is a dry van terminal manager for the Phoenix terminal, which is our largest terminal, and I'm a dry van driver, and manager named Erica. Erica said that she's like in charge of like something like 36 trucks. Well, she oversees all of the driver managers, okay? But she's totally awesome. So this is the first time I've done a video with her, and we've known each other for a while. I want to mention this too.
3, 4, return time, it's transfer it out.
Madeline, this kind of makes it more real. I remember that first conversation we had when I was up in Salt Lake, and you were on the phone. You answered the phone, and I said, "Are you one of the new driver managers? Because I haven't heard you." And you said, "No, I'm the new terminal driver manager." And that was our very first conversation. And you may not remember it, but we had a rescue load to do, and I told you I can't do it. And I ended up racing down to Las Vegas, and the guy I was passing it on to wasn't there.
Right.
And he got there at like 12:20, and the whole idea I did that was to get there by 12 midnight. And that was our first kind of interaction, and it was like a real live thing.
Yeah.
And then I told you back then, I said, I want to be one of your best drivers. And that was one of our first conversations. So I put that intention out there, but I didn't really know you that well. And then what caught my eye is your messages that you started sending out to the fleet, like really cool messages about consciousness, and you got to take care of your vision.
Yeah, your mindset.
And I'm like, she's a different type of drive-in manager. And so that's what I'm excited about. And the last thing I want to mention, one of the reasons I stay with Night Transportation is because of people like Madeline and the culture here. So I'm not going anywhere. So she said she's a little shy, and I didn't like myself on camera. So I'm just going to ask a couple questions. She's going to be completely herself. So here's question number one. Why did you, they're very easy questions too.
Okay.
Why did you decide to go into trucking? How did that happen? And specifically, Night Transportation.
This is really easy.
Yeah.
Thanks for starting out with an easy
Yeah.
one. My best friend, her husband works for Night Transportation, and then he said you should come work for Night Transportation.
Oh, that was easy. Yeah.
I know. I said it was really easy. I mean, it wasn't quite like that easy. I was doing something else before, and then there came to a point where I could make a decision to leave that. Totally not transportation related.
Wow.
I mean, I came in with zero. I mean, I don't think anyone outside of the industry really knows about it, which is like kind of weird because you would think everyone should know about it. We all rely on it pretty heavily.
Exactly. Good point.
And so, but it's pretty wild because, it didn't even think about like even just the distance it takes to stop a tractor trailer, or speed up, or, like just even driving around it physically, but then kind of just the figurative aspects as well, like stuff ending up on shelves in a store, like how did it get there?
Exactly.
And so just like really thinking about that. And so I came in literally knowing nothing about transportation. I started as a driver manager on this team, and then quickly I moved over to the account management team. I managed a national account, and I did that for a year, and then I moved over to another account management team, and I managed all the account managers, and then now I came back into operations, and I took over as the terminal manager here. And so but yeah, it was kind of just like sure, let's try it out, and then it worked out.
Now there's a lot of people like and I'm kind of the same way, a lot of people that go into truck driving, like everybody, we all have our own story, but I think one thing's in common, like when we come into it, like you're talking about, the average public, they see the trucks go by on the highway, and they may be on a road trip and they go into a pilot or something, but they don't understand how it really works, the mechanics of it, how complicated it is. And you correct me, because I want to make sure I have things right. I was told, I heard that Night Transportation is the largest fleet in North America, or
Swift together.
Just because they acquired Swift, so the two together, and so it's just totally. And for me, so one of the reasons I like having this conversation is I'm a driver, you're a manager, and I have a driver manager in between. But we all work together as a team. And what I like about it is a regular corporation, oftentimes if there's upper management or management, there's like management, and then there's the entry level people, and they don't really talk to each other, or there's not much input or conversation.
Right.
And right from the get-go with you, I noticed with me, with your driver managers, you have regular meetings and hang-up meetings. You're really, in fact, the new layout, like where you used to have that corner office with the glass, the doors are shut. Now you're at the end table, and it's closer to the...
Yeah, so technically I have an office still.
Oh, you do? Doug Guermo. Welcome to Driving to Tokyo. Click on the subscribe button, the like button. Come on inside and check out what I'm doing. I love truck driving. I'm going to be sharing a video every single day about how I drive a truck, but also the whole system I have of having fun, traveling. I've been to Japan 5 times in 2 years. I have more fun driving a truck than any other thing I've ever done in my life. Plus, I saved $38,000 last year. So if you're curious about truck driving, check it out. Click on the subscribe button, the like button. I look forward to seeing you on the inside, sharing my videos with you.
I just don't use it. It's difficult to yell at someone when they're 20 feet away.
Okay, so you technically have an office, but you prefer to be on the floor. Great. Now, can I ask what you did before? What industry? What industry was it, or?
I guess considered the medical industry.
Oh, okay.
I was in school for a long time, and then I did clinical research for a while. And
Wow. And weren't you studying to potentially be a doctor? So you
Total departure.
So you're potentially going to be a doctor, and then you end up in the trucking industry.
Yeah. I mean, every field I think is really not that different.
Yeah.
The concepts are really similar. You know, the problem solving, people, management, you know, just like organization.
So yeah, you notice, like I was a massage therapist for 15 years, and I was a taxi cab driver and a limo driver. And when I got involved with trucking, I realized there's a common ground. Like, that might sound funny. I reframe everything. Like, I used to pick up people, now I pick up freight. And I used to be in my vehicle all the time. It was a taxi or a limo, but now I'm in a truck all the time. And I used to drive a lot. So it was an easy transition for me. And I used to see the trucks go by, and I used to think to myself, I wonder what's involved to get involved in the truck. So part of our conversation and part of my vision is, I know there's lots of people out there that are perfect candidates that were in place like me or you, that are thinking, what's my next step? What should I do next? Oops, my other phone's talking to me.
Yeah, and the question is how to reach them.
Yeah, it's how to reach them. So that's the big question now, because I'm creating these videos and this website, and without traffic, how am I going to get the people to come and see our message? Because I think we have a great company, a great culture.
Yeah.
I love it here. I'm not going anywhere, but the challenge is, how do we get this message, this positive message, out to the people that want to hear it?
Yeah. I think if we could solve that, a lot of people would want to know our secret.
Yeah, so Elsie and I kind of hit it off when I was leaving the night transportation driver lounge. And I saw her, and I don't know why, something just told me to start talking to her. And when I did, I found out later, after talking to her about my channel, Driving to Tokyo, that she had lived in Japan 6 years. In fact, her kids were all born there. Now, my Driving to Tokyo channel also has to do with my 5 trips to Japan that I went to starting in October of 2017, which, after I've been driving a big rig for 2 different companies, CRST and Night Transportation, I took my first trip to Tokyo, and it was 18 years after I came back from Brazil on April 20th, 1999. And so this next part of my Driving to Tokyo definitely has to do with my 5 trips to Japan, which I took every fall and every spring for 2 solid years. And then in between, for example, June to about October, I drove a big rig about 3,000 miles a week, or 500 to 600 miles every single day. And then I went to Japan, and then I drive in the winter, and I told my friends in the fall, I'll see you in the spring. And I came back in the spring, and then I said, I'll see you back in the fall. And I drove through the summer. And I said, I'll see you back in the spring, and I'll see you back in the fall. I did that 5 cycles. Those 2 years, from October 2017 to December 18, 2019, well, that'll never happen again, but that's part of my Driving to Tokyo story, the 5 trips to Japan. I almost said Brazil, because all the genesis of my Driving to Tokyo was driving to Brazil, because when I met Silvia Chin Santos in the spring of 1998, that resulted in me going to Brazil, not once, but twice, December 1998 and April of 99, which is all part of the umbrella well, driving to Tokyo also includes driving to Brazil. Literally, I'm just going home for my 4 days of home time, leaving the night terminal, which I've done gazillions of times. And generally speaking, if it's regular business hours, which is 7 a.m., there's a bus in the background here, 7 a.m. till 5, that's when Madeline would normally work and be there. Often I would check in with her and tell her I'm going home. And this particular day, I asked her if I could take a photo of her. And I said, better yet, why don't we just sit down and do an interview? And it was completely unrehearsed and spontaneous. Now, I did patch in, I borrowed a night current video showing the terminal. I did that for a specific reason. Here's why. I was based in at Knight Transportation, the largest terminal in Phoenix, for almost a decade. And I was there when they were doing all this remodeling construction stuff. So the whole terminal was all kind of torn up and still under construction. And this video I patched in is what it looked like after it was completed. And I picked up my last load 2.5 years ago. It was November 5, 2021. It was a Spokane, Washington drop and hook load that I picked up in Spokane, Washington and brought to Phoenix. And that would be, now I did not know, would end up being my last load. Now, the reason why I'm even focusing any time on Knight is it was a very, very significant time in my life on so many different levels that, first of all, I still do have a whole channel called Driving to Tokyo that was completely focused on promoting Knight Transportation, my own personal story within Knight Transportation. And I invested $7,000 and hired Mike to do the thumbnails, the banners, basically all the things I did not know how to do. What I brought to the table was my trucking experience and expertise, and also my own personal story related to going to Japan, not once, but 5 times in 2 years. And in between going to Japan, I drove a truck to about 2,000 or 3,000 miles a week. So my whole life was focused on Knight Transportation. And I had driven 750,000 miles, or almost 1 million. That was my goal. And I was about approximately 2.5 years shy of reaching that goal. And now it has been 2.5 years since I left, since I did my last load. So if I was still there, I would be there with this new terminal, and I would hit my 1 million miles and have my photograph on the wall as a 1 million mile truck driver. That would have been a huge accomplishment, given I didn't start driving a truck until I was 55 years old. The other thing is Madeline, who I just had on this interview, she's actually on my channel, the full interview, 20-minute interviews on my channel. Madeline said, after hearing one of my videos on the way to work, not watching, but just listening to one of my videos, she told me, in fact, it's on the interview, where I talked specifically about her doing a corporate, what they call ride-along. And what that is, another one of my dreams, on top of hitting 1 million miles, was to do a corporate video. And she, who is the terminal manager of their entire dry van fleet, said she wanted to do a ride-along with me. And ride-along meant not just around the yard, but literally go on the road with me for 3 or 4 days. Now, if you go to YouTube and you type in Knight videos, there's several videos of everyone from the CEO to several managers and people riding with drivers on a corporate video. That's what that would have been. Now, I'm walking home from Starbucks again. It's May 21st, 2024. all this said, it was extremely disappointing, heartbreaking that I lost my job. It turned my whole world upside down because everything I focused on for the entire time, almost a decade with Knight Transportation, was focused on hitting 1 million miles. And then the last part related to my channel, I had a whole game plan that was, and here was my game plan. And I had already basically initiated a good part of it. What was it? Well, I had a whole plan to make money recruiting drivers to Knight Transportation, and specifically while I was in Japan. In other words, Knight Transportation had a thing called casual, and what that meant was, and I didn't initiate this or even learn about this until I'd been driving with Knight approximately about 7 or 8 years. They had a thing that if you wanted to turn in your company truck, you could take up to a month off, but you just had to do one load. In other words, what we called a quick turn from Phoenix to LA and back. And then I could go to Japan for up to a month at a time. That's how I went 5 times every fall and every spring. And what that meant was I had 3 weeks paid vacation. I could remain a driver and an employee. And while I was in Japan, using my channel, I could recruit students. I could recruit other drivers that maybe were with Knight but came back and wanted to have be rehired, or drivers that came from other companies. Now, here's the bottom line. You saw the video of the terminal. I also saved $37,000. I completely rebuilt my life. In other words, it's a little noisy. There's lots of construction going on my way home. I'm trying to walk around the construction. That you hear that in the background. I'm literally about 3 blocks. There's food trucks and trash trucks, and anyway, it's first thing in the morning here and I'm walking home. But anyway, let me get back on track. Here's the whole point, is losing my job with Knight Transportation. It wasn't just like, oh well, I'll just get another job. It was like a marriage. It was the equivalent of a marriage. I was 100% dedicated and loyal. In fact, one of the things I told Madeline once was, how many drivers do you have on your, team or on the dry van terminal side that have gone to Japan 5 times, saved $37,000, completely rebuilt their life, have invested $7,000 on a channel called Drive to Tokyo? And she said, nobody. I know. So it really, really turned my world upside down when I lost my job November 5, 2021. And what I like to say is that was 2.5 years ago. And I'm not the only one that's had something like that happen. Obviously, there's people, if you take all 6 or 8 billion people on the planet, there's people that have lost a spouse. My mom just lost my dad, who died after 10 months of dying. My dad passed away on March 17th. My mom had been married to my dad since she was 18 years old. My dad was 20 when I was born. She knew he was dying. They talked about it. In fact, I saw my dad June 5th, 2023, about 6 weeks after he turned 90, and spent a day and a half with him. I have it all on video. I'm bringing her up because she's going through adjustment, and she's going to be turning 90, but she's going to be living the rest of her life, however long that is, without my dad. So that's something that she's having a really hard time with, but knew it was coming and knew it was inevitable. I talked to my mom and dad about this when I saw them. And this, I saw them put this in perspective, time perspective. I saw my mom and dad June 5th, 2023. You take November 5th, 2021 to November 5th, 2022, that's 1 year. It wasn't that long after I lost my job that I saw my dad, and he was literally dying. He called me and said, "I'm dying. I may not make it till the end of the week." My mom texted me and said, "Dad's dying." Now, I'm bringing this up because I lost my job, which was a death to me. Then my dad dying and ultimately passing away after 10 months of being on hospice and being at home in a place that, I know I'm switching gears, in a place I called home for 10 years, and where I called home when I was employed by Knight Transportation. I left Arizona, specifically the South Capistrano home, in the spring of 2022 and came here where I'm recording this video. I arrived the spring of 2022 and moved into my loft August of 2022. And this was after I lost my job, after my mom and dad decided to sell the house I called home for 10 years. So my life not only was flipped upside down because I lost my job, my life was flipped upside down because my mom and dad decided to sell the house that I called home. And also recently my father has passed away. I'm almost going in the back door of my loft. Again, it's May 21st, the beginning of summer 2023. But you could be one of the 1% to 10% that this will mean something to you, but you won't find out unless you watch it, right? This has been 1 minute, 46 seconds. Now, don't feel bad. Let me share you a real live thing. But by the way, this is, if those, I might send this to my friend, Brian and Sandy. They're gonna be like, what the hell happened? My mom saw me with my growing my hair out. I didn't even recognize you. I'm a weird dude now. This is my 70s look. But let me continue. Kind of fitting that I saved my apartment by selling my 2017 Prius Touring to CarMax, got $11,400. I have my house key on my CarMax ring. And I bought a Lexus ES350 through CarMax. I bought that, put $8,000 down on it, paid it off, sold it back to CarMax. I bought a Hyundai Sport, bought it, paid most of the payments, sold it back to CarMax, and walked out with a $4,000 check. I bought 3 cars on their money back guarantee. I bought a first Altima, took it back. Then I bought a, I bought a Jetta, took it back. They have a 30-day money back guarantee. If you drive the car, if we got it financed or paid cash. I bought my Altima cash. I took it back. They gave me 100% on my money back. I then bought an Altima Coupe. It was kind of like one of those 260Z kind of things. Drove for a couple weeks, took it back, got a refund. And I settled on my Subaru, my 2017 Prius Subaru, paid for it before the first payment. I love CarMax. I guess it's only fitting that I bought my 2017 Prius in San Diego, picked up 2,400 people, customers, riders here in Denver, and I sold it to CarMax here in Denver, South Broadway, to save this apartment. That's how my life is. Let's go. I just walked in the door. I don't have anything on, but I did it. I gave it my car to save my apartment. and I now have an electric car, and I saved my rent, and I checked my residential app today, and it went from $2,400 something, $2,400 essentially, balanced to zero. This is my life. I hope you watch this video. It's not sugar-coated, it's real. It's my life outside of my driving. Well, I think my riders are my best subscribers, although I just got a subscriber, Sydney. I think she just subscribed to my channel when I was buying these groceries from Whole Foods. I had the munchies. I just bought this stuff at Whole Foods, 6 minutes out my door. Put this keys down. I got some peanut butter, some popcorn. Originally it was just going for popcorn. An $8 bottle of wine, and just got this in Whole Foods for about $15. And I'm gonna make a video while I'm munching and sharing this with you. Stay tuned. Set this up. I'm hoping what I say will pique your interest enough to watch more than 2 seconds of this, but let me explain. I'm actually gonna share somebody with 2 video clips named Christine. Why am I doing this? Well, she was one of my first video mentors. And when she watched one of my first videos about 4 years ago, you know what she said? And she was my video mentor. She has a channel called Girl Traveler. She's been all over the world. She's a yoga instructor. She's a Hollywood actress. She's been on commercials. She's super talented. And she was my video mentor. Why do I say that? Well, our very first Zoom call that I paid her $70 to have an hour of her time was in Arizona City, and I couldn't get the video to work. She was in Hawaii, I was in Arizona City out in the middle of the desert. We were trying to sync up, and for $70, she would give me a whole hour of coaching. We couldn't get it to work, but guess what? That very first Zoom call, do you know how long we talked? She said, you pay $70 for 1 hour. How long do you think we talked? 2.5 hours. Back and forth. Now you have to understand, I'm not saying this to brag or boast, but there are a fair amount of people in my life have found me interesting. In fact, I just picked up someone, and again, I'm not trying to brag because I'm just trying to listen. I brought someone, and here's something you may not understand. Every one of my riders, for the most part, all maybe 97, 99% of them, I'll never see again. But I picked up someone the other day, and I start out usually like this. Hi, how are you doing? I'm Douglas, your driver. You must be so-and-so. Are you headed to work? Are you visiting? Do you live here? Kind of like that kind of thing to break the ice. And this fellow was going down south, right? Don't know him from Adam. And if I feel like there's some engagement, I take full advantage of it. What do? I tippy-toe into my story. And I'll say something like, what you may not know about me, which they won't because they don't know anything about me. I'll say, what you may not know about me is this. I'm a retired truck driver. I started driving a truck when I was 55. I drove 1 million miles. I went to Japan 5 times in 2 years. And I started a channel called Driving to Tokyo, and here's why. I actually just thought I'd take some videos and photos of my life because I knew eventually I was going to stop driving. And because I went to Japan 5 times in 2 years, I thought it'd be good to look back on my trips to Japan because I felt I wasn't going to be able to do this forever. I literally, after 8 years of driving professionally, I went to Japan the first time, October 2017, and I started taking photos. And a friend of mine said, you know, you could make movies on iMovie. And this is where it all started. I wasn't planning on it. And Frank, I wasn't planning on picking you up with Lyft because you know why? I always ask questions. Do you know why? Because Lyft did not exist when I started driving a truck. When the airport first opened, I was one of the first taxi cab drivers, and all this stuff didn't exist. I didn't even know if I don't think iPhone. And I don't think electric cars were around. I don't know. But I try to engage and say stuff to intentionally. Now, sometimes I'll do this. I'll do this one thing and I'm going to get off. Sometimes people go in my car and say, hey, what's going on? And I'll say this. This works almost every time. I told this fellow this too. I said, I'll say, I've been away 14 years. I'll pause. I know they're thinking prison. And I'll look in the mirror and said, I did solitary confinement for 13 years. And I pause, I'm driving. And then I'll say, I was a land pilot. And then I shifted being a land pilot to a land astronaut. And I want them to ask, what is a land pilot? What's a land astronaut? What do you mean solitary confinement? See, I want them to be, it's weird enough that they want to know more, right? It's a page turner. See, I've learned, although I'm not successful yet, but I'm a good grasshopper of trying to see people's attention so when they want to pull out their phone. I say, pull out your phone. I don't ask them to. I say, pull out your phone. Here's what I'd like you to do. I don't ask them to do. I say, pull out your phone, go to YouTube. Then sometimes they'll say, do you have a YouTube channel? But I'll just pull out your phone, go to search engine, Google, and type in this. And I'm driving. Driving to Tokyo Space Channel. And I'll say it 3 times. I should have it in my back headrest. So they're sitting there and they're viewing my photo and I have it written there so they can, without me saying anything. What would happen if someone's in my back seat and they see my profile, my story, and they're curious about it, and there's type in driving to Tokyo? Do you think they'll do it without me saying anything? The answer is yes. Even if they're on the phone. They might be on the phone with someone, and I could even say on the thing, you may be catching a plane, so this is something you can listen to and check out while you're waiting for your plane to take off. You could even listen to it. See, I got to prompt it. Then they'll ask questions like, this looks pretty interesting. Tell me about it. So that's my 8-minute spiel. I'm a grasshopper. I'm at Wash Park right now, hopefully talking to you. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself, which I really am. That's the reality. I'm not even talking to you right now. I'm talking to myself, hoping I get to talk to you. Let's go to commercial break right now from Wash Park, May 23rd, 2024. A beautiful sunny day here in Denver, Colorado. Let's go to commercial break. Be right back after this message.